Hello and welcome to a Smite video. Now, just from reading the title of this video, you're probably going to understand what this video is about. This video is titled, Hi-Rez don't know how to make balanced gods anymore. Now, what that means is, what I'm getting at in a broad spectrum is, Smite has been going on for one heck of a long time, and I've enjoyed playing Smite for a good chunk of 3 years now. I was tempted to make this video sooner, but we'll get into that later. But of course, over the years, all sorts of gods have been released. And here's just a few of them. As you can see, a lot of gods that have come out. Most of them are generally quite fun to play. Balanced gods, broken gods, quite poor gods. And many of them are actually pretty decent at what they do. And of course, as the years have gone by, new gods have been released, old gods have been reworked, and it's just a good system going through. My problem, and the reason of this video, is I believe now that Hi-Rez development don't know how to make a balanced one anymore. Now, before, of course, everyone is entitled to their opinion, as my opinion is here. This is Mr. Limes talking here. And it's just my opinion of, we a quick look at that. Okay, so I were to have joined Smite around the Chernobyl Samedi time. Now, quite a few gods have been released since then. I did play Smite before then, and it was the Artio Hachiman. I started here and then didn't touch the game for a while, and then I came back and since then have played for that length of time. So the Chernobyl Samedi. So that would have been 2018 I came back to Smite. Around May 2018 I came back. Chernobyl had just come out and Samedi had... Chernobyl was in mid-season and Samedi had just come out. So we had a whole length of time, a whole massive chunk of time for all these new gods to come out. So how we're going to start this video is I'm going to be talking about the gods who have come out, gods who I consider to be insanely broken, and just my general opinion on Smite god abilities. Now, for example, I would say, every god in the game is unique in their own way, because they all have different abilities. However, what the abilities do are pretty similar in some ways. Such as, a good example, good old Aphrodite. Aphrodite's abilities are set to her. She leeches, one of the few gods we hate. She attaches herself, via a kiss, to a combatant. She heals them, she makes them invincible, and she makes them an explosion when she stamps a cane on the ground. When you look at it in terms of what she can do, other gods can do that. Other gods can heal, other gods can stun, other gods can turn invincible. But her own unique abilities is set to what she can do. Now this is a sort of god that I would say, in terms of their abilities being unfair, she's around about near the top. Because the only other gods in the game who can technically make themselves invincible would be Chang, who is our lovely lady here, with her, not her ultimate. There's a difference here when I talk about this. Aphrodite's invincibility comes from her ultimate. Chang is just a normal ability. Which, when you can look at the scaling, you can kind of go, wait, both gods can heal, both gods can stun, but both gods can turn invincible. However, one's an ultimate and one's a normal. Which is why, in many ways, I would say Chang is more broken than Aphrodite. And of course, Chiron can turn invincible with his ult again. There are some gods that can do it. Kali, another one, her ult, she is invincible. So Chang would take on top. Just an example. Then we have a sort of bracket on their own for god abilities, passive, how they work. And it would be a weird one. Now what I mean by a weird one, we'll go to a prime example of Ao Quan. Now, these are the ones I have no problem with, but I consider to be questionable at the bottom of the barrel. Now, how we would explain this is Ao Quan is the only mage who doesn't have range-based primary attack. So, he is actually at a disadvantage than every other mage. Sure, he has a ranged ability, but he's not particularly a mage, because he doesn't have a outshot, and he's more of an assassin based. Now this is a decision that Hi-Rez decided on. Okay, fair enough. That's fine. Okay, we'll accept that. But when you compare it that and go, okay, Alquan is a jungler, sort of like an assassin mage. You'd never play him on mid, but you'd give him a go in jungle. Okay, that would work. But when you have a god like the Morrigan, who is similar to Alquan, a stealthy damage doer, she's actually ranged, and Alquan isn't. So in my tier list, for example, for the mages, I had Alquan as being unlucky that he's not ranged. And to be fair, it's a little bit unfair for him not to just switch him to an assassin. But as far as it goes, it does work for him. But I would see him at being a little bit of a like a problem. Now I would go down to the similar one on this same category. And this is going to be one of the gods we're going to be talking about quite a lot, really. And it would be Tsukuyomi. Now, Tsukuyomi, or Tsukuyumi, whichever one you say, is a prime example of a god done poorly. Now, this is an assassin who has every single one of his abilities being ranged. Now, when you look at that and go, okay, Tsukuyomi isn't particularly the strongest god in the game. In many cases, he is. As far as assassins go, he can beat most of them, but he can't beat all of them. As far as mages go, mages would be absolutely terrified of this guy. But the reason why Tsukuyomi is unbalanced or unfair compared to any other assassin is why is every single one of his abilities ranged. Now sure, some assassins do have a ranged attack. Basset will throw a cat at you for some unknown reason. Kali has razor thing she throws at you and they cut you up. And even a Wheelik shoots out something which will launch you up into the air if you're facing the wrong direction. Assassins do have ranged things, that is understandable. But not every single one of their abilities is ranged. So now we're getting at sort of like the whole idea of, okay, every god has basic same abilities. They have stuns, they have lifesteal, heal, movement speed, crowd control. They all have these sort of things, but then there's a problem when you release a god who either has too much of the effects or has a completely different version that is insanely overpowered. In Tsukuyumi's argument here is, okay, you have a ranged ability, you have a bunch of ranged abilities, and they all do different things. One will slow you, one will stun you, one you'll just shoot laser beams and slice up an entire team. But we're not here to talk about that. That's just a broad idea of what we're dealing with. Okay. Then we come to our last category, before we continue, of gods who have abilities that are insanely unfair to even the other gods in the game and the gods in their own class. And gods who you question how they even got in the game to begin with. Because they either didn't fit to the role, they don't make sense being in the role, and more importantly, they actually don't make sense in the game. And I will be diving into, recently, in my opinion, 4 of the most broken gods in Smite. We'll get to them shortly, but we'll start here with a prime example of a battle, say, potentially between Hera and Cernunnos. Now, what does Hera and Cernunnos have in common? Well, Cernunnos has the ability to turn people into animals, or something similar, turns them into a boar. It's an ult which works well for Cernunnos, as when they are turned into said boar, he can hunt them down and kill them. While Hera has an X ability that can turn people into the mobs around the map. Okay, that's fine. Both have sort of things. It's like the argument earlier, okay? One has an ult which is strong, and the other has an X ability which is... But they do the same thing, it's a bit unfair. The problem is, Hera over here can drop a mech into combat. Now, as far as summoning, I despise gods with companions, where they can bring them into the fight. Noir annoys me. Skadi's dog annoys me. Okay, But when you have an ultimate where you can physically drop a giant mech from Titanfall into the game, becomes a little bit unfair. To the point of where you look at other mages and go, wait a minute, Noir sends out 3 minions that she can blow up. Okay, fair enough. Wait, you can physically throw a mech on people, and your passive is you get a cooldown whenever it does damage. Hera is a type of god that I would say was insanely broken and not very well thought out when she came out. In that her abilities are stronger versions of current god abilities, as in henceforth she's stronger than Cernunnos' ultimate because she can do it without any thought process. And to look at Hera, she had a shield which made her her mech faster and healed herself, and she was just an insanely overpowered mage. But we'll get to Hera shortly. Right now, let's just look at our delightful little list here. Now then. Good. So we started at the Samedi Chernobyl. We won't talk about Chernobyl because I wasn't here from start to finish. I never saw it all. Baron Samedi. When Samedi first came out, what an amazingly fun god to play. His abilities did seem pretty similar. He had a pull-in ability, he had a stun sort of slow ability, his line ability was basic, although it was fun. He brought with him his own new line of potions, which everybody wanted to have fun with. They got to go, oh sweet, a new potion. Hopefully this idea will be brought in the future. It's not. Samedi was the only one who had this. But it was alright. Samedi, as far as he went, was a pretty decent mage, aside from the fact having a lifesteal problem where heal his entire team with his lifesteal. Pele was another prime one, who I thought at the time, me not playing assassins, I wouldn't talk about them as much, but I have played Pele. She is insanely strong. But Pele was an odd one that she wasn't the top. When I was there playing them, she wasn't the most dangerous assassin on the field. Since then, she's obviously had buffs, or people have been able to know how to play her properly, and she has smashed up into the high rankings of Smite gods. But at the time, when she first came out, I never saw Pele as that much of a threat. Then we came to Hera. Now, Hera was an odd one. When she first came out, she was insanely broken. Hi-Rez quickly jumped on the thing and went, oh, okay, we see this problem, and they nerfed her. However, unfortunately, it seemed they nerfed her a bit too much, because overall, she did drop quite down a lot. And then over the years, they've obviously tried to rebuild her so she can get back up. Now she's apparently mediocre in the eyes of the tier lists, which I don't believe in the slightest. Conquest is one thing, the rest of the game types, that's not a tier list. I'll make a video on that another day. So Hera was sort of, when she came out, she was like, okay, fair enough, buff, nerf, she's alright. At the moment, she's one of the few gods in the game who I think needs a massive rework, just to look at her passive or why her mech can come out so quickly. But we'll look at that for another day. The world of Smite changed when King Arthur came out. Now, we had come across multi-skill gods before, but not to this level. King Arthur just decimated lobbies when he first came out. I remember playing games of Conquest, and no matter who you put up against him in a lane of solo, King Arthur would slaughter every single competition. When he dropped, it was just he was indestructible and probably one of the hardest gods to take on and actually come out alive. First god in the game that I considered Hi-Rez, you don't know what you're doing. Of course, back then, I didn't really consider that. I was like, Smite, what are you doing? You don't, why would you bring this guy out? I still loved Smite, and I still love Smite to this day, but it's just the gods and the lies and stupid decisions, like they fixed the heal system but made it worse. Another video, another day. So King Arthur was where the game sort of got unplayable for me. And then they brought King Arthur out with Merlin. Merlin, the delightful companion of King Arthur, and you just got even worse. Merlin dropped, it just was hell. Merlin was another prime example of short cooldowns, quick abilities. Instead of having 8 abilities, I have 12 abilities. And another god who came out who decimated all. However, the big difference between Merlin and King Arthur was a warrior who was insanely strong. King Arthur could take down an assassin, a guardian, and the entire lobby. Merlin couldn't take down guardians. Now, I'm happy about that, because my 2 roles, all my played roles consist of support. I'm the guardian, I'm the mage, I'm the warrior, I'm the assassin. I play them all. Not assassin too much. I play jungle, but Ao Quan, that's the only one I play. And Merlin could not beat me. In a 1v1 situation, though, Merlin particularly wasn't the strongest to take on. Sure, he was annoying to fight, but in many ways you could still actually beat him. So Merlin was one of the ones that you go, what is this guy? Because you look at his abilities and he was so strong. But by this time, you would have thought King Arthur would have been nerfed. No, King Arthur was still decimating lobbies. It was only until the next one who we see where things started to change. But as it would stand, Merlin was not the worst, because the problem you have with gods is the items they can buy. Gem of Isolation on Merlin made it impossible to fight him. The lovely item that slows you down when you get hit by an ability. And Merlin happened to have an abundance of abilities just to keep hitting you with over and over again. And then we come to Jormungandr. Where do we talk about this giant snake? The day I started to dislike Smite came with Jorm. And I still say to this day, on the tier list, he's second from bottom. I still say Jormungandr should not be in Smite. How this guy was ever considered to be a guardian, ever considered in the first place, every single one of his abilities is all about damage. Not a single one to help his teammates out. This is the moment I started to question Smite and go, wait a minute. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? For all these years, they've got an all-right sort of idea. You question it because back in the early days, I used to watch it. I only played it 3 years ago. I used to watch it beforehand. And you saw gods like Thor, Nemesis, and Ravana. You're like, oh, look at them. Wait, they used to be warriors? Why did they change? Of course they changed for reasons back in the past. Something to do with classes changing over and all that malarkey. But as you get on later on in the game, you sort of go, wait, Hi-Rez haven't changed a god class in years. Oh wait, they must know what they're doing. Okay, we'll leave it be. Jorm was just the worst thing to ever have existed, and probably ever will exist. The amount of damage he did, and the fact that his ult is still the same from when he first came out. Jump 3 times to avoid any fight is ridiculous. Counter CC, you can't grab him as Ares, you can't grab him as Cerberus. Every tank who could try and potentially grab him, every assassin, every even a Himdalia, who was top tier when he first came out, couldn't even take Jorm to any other dimension. Jorm was invincible. He had the same effect as Varmana in his ult, but it wasn't even his ult, it was his basic form. Now, of course, Jorm had a bunch of nerfs, and since recently has had quite a few buffs to try. Since recently has had quite a few nerfs as well, because they still see him as a threat. I'll bring it in briefly, which is why I question the new tier lists of all these intelligent people where they have Jorm down the bottom. I'm not talking about the ranked one, the conquest ones. I'm talking about in general. Why would Smite be nerfing gods who are broken? As in, like, physically broken, terrible. Why would they be nerfing gods who are terrible? Unless they don't know what they're doing. Ooh. Maybe. We don't know. So Jorm was the one that sort of threw it down. Then, things actually started to go well. I got happy again. We had a double drop. We had Horus and Set come out the same times. And I actually liked both of these gods. Set was an assassin, and Horus was a warrior. Horus, in my opinion, is one of the weaker warriors, but he is a lot of fun to play. His ultimate is absolutely useless, but he was actually quite fun to play. I got quite excited when Horus came out. I never touched Set, he was an assassin. When I did play Set, it was in a game of Assault and I got slaughtered, but he was a fun god to play. Currently, Set is still classed as one of the strongest assassins in the game, and Horus is briefly looked over and not talked about too much. But oddly enough, these two gods I didn't have at the time to be insanely broken. Set, although is a hell for mages and even can take on a couple of assassins, as a guardian or a warrior, you could still take on Set. He wasn't top tier. And actually had a pretty decent time with both of these two gods. Now, Ulurun was another god who, aside from his ult, was actually quite enjoyable. He came out and a lot of people were so cool to see his ult, but then when you actually play him, while his ult is amazing, it is quite easy to get out of, and he has to really use it. He has to take advantage of it. With Ulurun, a lot of the time people would build attack speed and lifesteal, which was a brilliant combination, but he was a fun god to try and fight. Even so, as far as in a mage fight, he was a lot of fun to fight, and he was actually one of the few assassin counters where if an assassin got close to him, he could slap the ground and push them up in the air, give them some time to run away. And more frequently now more than ever, his abilities are actually used, or his ult, as a form of trying to stop someone getting away, or making so when the assassin jumps on his lane, slows them down and gives him a chance to run away. Ulurun, when he came out, was actually quite a fun god to play, and a very fun god to fight against. In mid lane, countless times, I'd go up against an Ulurun, I'd lose, I'd win, but I wouldn't feel hard done by because he was a fun mage to fight against. And I thought to myself, you know what, it's going well. Okay, Set, Horus, Ulurun, I can forgive, I can forget. We can move on strong. We can move on strong. Persephone. Okay. Just had Ulurun, who was a mage. Ulurun. They bring out another mage. Okay, that's fine. I suppose you brought out Set and Horus, two physical. You need to bring out two magical. Persephone is probably one of the worst things currently in this game, and I will moan at Persephone a lot. On my Smite tier lists, I think it was 4 gods who I wanted removed from the game, and Persephone is one of them. She was not very well thought out, and is another instance in the history of Smite, in my history of Smite, that I have questioned how the hell did she get past? It's just, in my head, you have a week of trial with like PC gamers. PC gamers being the best gamers. I'm not going to lie, you are. I'm a PlayStation gamer. I used to play PC but many, many moons ago. Then an accident happened to the PC and we couldn't get a new one. So that was that. PC, you are the best, but if there is a trial where you get to test it before anyone else, you're lying about these sort of gods. Persephone I don't know how the hell they thought she was a good idea. Her ult was a basic cage. Okay, that's fine. Traps one person in. However, if you're near the vicinity, you also get trapped in. Okay. She summons up flowers, which can't be destroyed. Even when they've bloomed, they can't be destroyed. Even when they're chasing you down and are faster than you, they can't be destroyed. She can eat the flowers, so she regains her health back. Still can't be destroyed. Okay. Yeah, that's a thing. When she dies, she comes back to life and can hit you with abilities. Okay. That's a thing too. The first god in this entire game that had a resurrection-based ability where they could come back and fight you from the grave. This was the first god who I would say absolutely stupid. While you have Kronos and Khepri, who both came out with their various ults, that was their ultimate. Khepri would revive someone and Kronos would revert time so he was full HP again. Even Kali would have an ultimate, but Kali actually had to kill somebody to gain all of her health back. Persephone could still fight from the grave. And it's just ridiculous. So much for Persephone she had that nobody else could do. Arachne, prime example of an assassin. She drops a spiderweb on the field. You can't destroy it, but if you activate it, you can destroy it. Artemis, she puts her traps down. You can't destroy them, but she can't move them. They're there on the field until you walk into them. Arpwash, his detonating corpses. He can pick them up and eat them, but you can destroy them. Not when they're running at you. When they stop running and they're on the floor, you can blow them up. A Muzenkab's beehives greatly benefit a Muzenkab, but you can destroy them. Persephone became one of the few gods in the game who had abilities that you couldn't get rid of even if you wanted to. She's currently under the rework list, and this is my massive disagreement with Hi-Rez Studios and Smite, is if you're going to rework somebody, and Persephone isn't a crap god. I would not, if anyone considers Persephone to be an insanely crap god, bottom tier, C tier, I'm sorry, I don't know if you actually know anything about Smite. Persephone is insanely strong. So if you have an insanely strong god who needs a rework, why the fuck would you keep her in the game? It's not like you've got no other mages. However many mages you've got who are already broken as hell, but you're still going to keep Persephone in, the broken mage, because you know what? We could take her out because she is broken, or we could leave her in so people can still play the broken god before we take her away. And as far as Smite goes on reworks, the Loki and Beset rework didn't really work, so she's either going to be terrible or even more broken. Which is why Beset is another one who's getting a rework, because they took her away. Oh, the rework worked, but now she's even stronger than she was before. And I will still argue this one with people. Beset is still a very strong assassin. We won't talk about Loki. We're never going to talk about Loki. But Beset just doesn't... Thankfully, she's not on this list. But Persephone, if you're going to rework her, take her out the game. But you know what? Screw it. I don't care. This was a bad downhill. Then we had our Guardian. Now, I'm a Guardian main. I have 10 Guardians, Diamond, and I've played every single Guardian. Even Jormi. Jormi, I do really like. I love Jormungandr as much as because I play him on solo lane. You have to admit and go on and move on. Okay, that's fine. Yamoja. Since coming off of the back of Jormungandr, I was kind of hoping and looking forward to the new Guardian coming out. And I was pleasantly surprised. But there was a problem. Yamoja ran the same sort of set as someone such as Kushalan Lane, the warrior guy. No mana, it was a set thing that goes up. She had Umi, which was water. She was a healer-based Guardian, similar to that of Sylvanas and Terra. She was quite a decent healer. Her ult, very effective. Yamoja was a good balanced god who you looked at and went, okay, she's pretty cool. Her ability seemed alright. Yeah, she was good. The problem was, Yamoja's one of the only few gods I can't exactly tell you how she was broken. Because if you played her as a Guardian, she'd work. But if you played her as sort of a passive-aggressive attack you god, it would work as well. Yamoja was a hard one because she was an insanely strong Guardian, but I couldn't see how. Now, this was the first ever Guardian that came to me, and I went, wait a minute. She can heal, she can run away, she can drop an ult which will encase people in water, and she has 2 abilities which will either stun or damage you. How is this god so strong? And although in a lot of people's perspective she was broken, I will admit she did look insanely strong, but I couldn't figure out how. And then, of course, at that time, I could have done my research. I could have gone into the background on her. I didn't, because, of course, it was a Guardian. And also, I didn't care that much. At this point, I still didn't care. When I started to care about Smite, as in gods who were broken, we'll get to soon. So after Yamoja came out, we then come to, I would say, the second step of insanity. Heimdallr. Heimdallr. Similar to Persephone, I thought Heimdallr should have been removed. Heimdallr was not a warrior. Sorry, forgive me. He was not a hunter, he should have been a warrior. Heimdallr just slaughtered everyone and everything. And even as far as the Guardians, he slaughtered us. Heimdallr was a carry who could decimate everyone, similar to that of a King Arthur, which I hoped Hi-Rez would never bring out again. Now King Arthur had his little nerfs, and a couple of items got nerfed as well, so he wasn't as strong anymore. And then they bring out Heimdallr. His ultimate made no sense for him as a god, and he could just slaughter through everything. Second game of Conquest we played. I had a hunter who was a well-experienced hunter, and I went the biggest, tankiest guardian I could possibly think of. I brought out Goosenbo, who in my head is a big, beefy, tanky guardian who can take a lot of damage. He decimated us. He didn't even need his support. He took on an assassin, a guardian, and a carry, and he slaughtered all three of us. Heimdallr was just absolutely devastating in the world of a hunter. And he just didn't make sense as a hunter. He had a slower attack speed and more damage than a hunter, and was the only ultimate in the game that was completely obscure from every other hunter. And then it brought me to think of and go, oh, please don't tell me this is going to become a constant occurrence, where every other god in the past, they have things that no other god have. But then when you have a god like Heimdallr and Persephone, who have two individual personal traits that no one else has. Now, what I mean by this, of course, is she comes back from the dead. Heimdallr, his Bifrost, can teleport from one end of the map to the other. That's not at all broken, where you can put one portal down at your Titan and put one portal down at the enemy Titan, and you can teleport all the way through. Or better yet, you can leave your portal on a Phoenix and you can go all the way through. That's not at all broken. Same as Persephone leaving her plants down on the middle of a Phoenix. Phoenix can't attack it because they're invincible. But we've forgotten about Persephone. We tried to forget about Persephone, but she kept coming back. Heimdallr, on the other hand, was here to stay. And since this day of Heimdallr coming out, I haven't seen him drop from a top tier god. And you've got to question that. Presumably every god in the game should be around a mid tier. That they're balanced, they're easy to play. But when a god is always at the top and never bloody moves, maybe they need a nerf. Or maybe they need to be put on a different role. What sort of idea was Heimdallr ever considered a hunter? I mean, it's the same as you look at Loki, the god of trickster. Yeah, he's actually an assassin. Odin and Tyr, two big beefy characters. Yeah, you're both warriors. Hey, is Thor a warrior? Wait, Thor's an assassin? You mean the guy who spins around in a circle, cracks the ground and stuns people, throws his hammer? He's an assassin. What is stealthy about Thor? Oh, he can jump up in the air and land down. Oh, okay. The small amount of assassinness. Which is, you still question and go, how the hell is Thor an assassin, not a warrior? But Heimdallr shouldn't have ever been in this position of a hunter. Never in a million. Mulan. I was at the point now of just coming off of the back of Heimdallr. He was still insanely strong. Thankfully, he died down. People stopped playing him. Don't know if it was due to nerfs or just people didn't want to pick him up. Or he was considered higher in the ranked lobbies. Mulan was another one. When she first dropped, as most with all gods, I sort of went, okay, she's alright. And then you started to play her more and more and more, and then you start to see, wait a minute. Another broken warrior. Mulan had a sort of ability that whenever she used her abilities and was able to hit somebody, they evolved into new abilities. And one of the few things that Mulan had in terms of a warrior that other warriors didn't, they had an active lifesteal ability. And then you look at Mulan and go, okay, wait, so she has a lifesteal ability. She can grapple onto people and grapple onto the wall to either run away and pull them in and beat them up. She has a slice. Okay. And then her ult is dash, shoot, lift, kabang. Mulan, when I first played her, and I think up till maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, I looked at Mulan and went, she actually looks like an assassin. She plays like an assassin, she acts like an assassin, and she does a lot of damage like an assassin. But then you go, oh wait, but no, she's not an assassin, she's a warrior. So she acts, plays, and has the damage of an assassin, but she's a warrior. Okay, fair enough. We'll move along. We're still at this point on the verge of, do they know? I don't know. We had a little bit of saving grace. Baba Yaga, in my opinion, is always the god that people miss out. She is a very well-balanced mage, and I have nothing but high respect for Baba Yaga. She's a very fun-to-play mage, and she's very damaging, but you usually don't see her that often, which is quite sad. But I always see her as being missed, because when she came out, I never saw that many people playing her. Which is a shame. Baba Yaga having all sorts of various techniques, from storing potions to throwing them out into combat, having a giant house to aid them in combat, which is fun, and then just having all sort of general cool abilities, from a good runaway, a good slow, a good damage. But what somebody did say to me when I was playing with somebody is, they said to me, I don't like playing Baba Yaga, and I go, why? And they went, because it's that house, it's off-putting. And then I sat there in a game one day, and I went Baba Yaga, and I could understand. I went, my lord, this is insanely off-putting. Wherever you go, this stupid house follows you. It's not like Scardy's dog, which is right next to you and will follow you. You have a giant house, which is actually, you can't walk through it. It's a stuck motion. It's like a block, a wall, which is there. And it is insanely off-putting. Only until somebody said it to me that I sort of went, oh yeah, it is off-putting. But as far as she goes, I do rate Baba Yaga, but it's just, you never see her. Either she was never a well-picked mid-lane god, which I still think she's a very, very well-balanced mid-lane god. Okay, if you look at that in the world of Conquest, okay, if she's not mid-lane, where does she fit in? She's not an assassin. She's not a solo, not a guardian, not a carry. So I don't think Baba Yaga really fit into the world of Conquest. But on other games, I don't see her as much as you normally would. I mean, most common mages you would see. You'd see a Discordia, a Zeus, Anubis, Hades, Persephone. You'd see them frequently. Then you'd see your gods you see every so often, like Agni, Apwash. But then she's just not picked that often. Now, this might just be PlayStation. I don't know. PC might be different, and Xbox might be different. I don't know. But on PlayStation, don't see her that much. I might just be playing the wrong lobbies, but that's fine. So we've come down to the last 4, which broke me. We're at the point of, okay, Baba Yaga was pretty fun to play. Problem: Mulan and Himdalia behind us, Persephone, are still all broken, and they're all still at the top tier. Hi-Rez haven't picked up on this, and they haven't nerfed them. This is the sort of time of day where I go, okay, fine. Please, bring out a good god. Tefulu or Cthulhu, or, what I like to call him, is when Hi-Rez fucked up. This is what broke the game for me. This is what finally put the nail in the coffin, and I became an angry gamer. An angry gamer on Smite, where no matter what Hi-Rez brought out, I would just nitpick. Nitpick all day long. But I am justified. I am justified in this answer. Cthulhu, let's just look at this lovely, fat, stupid, idiotic attempt for a god. Okay. Now, Cthulhu came out. Alright. Big, beefy, giant Squidward-looking motherfucker. Now, What's the problem with Cthulhu? Well, maybe because he's insanely broken, he had 6 nerfs, and his abilities just don't make bloody sense. Alright. We're not going to do this for every god, but this one in particular is what annoyed me the most. Cthulhu, hands down, was the most annoying god. And I vocalized this to the day I will stop playing Smite. And I'm a Guardian guy. My role is Guardian, no matter what. My current goal is to get every single Guardian to Diamond. I don't care about every other thing. I will get some Warriors to Diamond, but the Guardians I want to get to Diamond, I will. This guy should never, ever, ever have been considered to be in this game. But if you do consider a god who you want to be in your game, at least make it so they're balanced. Cthulhu was absolutely stupid. Whoever made this guy should have been fired the first damn day they got the fucking job. How the hell was this guy considered to be a good idea? Well, let's look at it, shall we? He has a sanity break. Oh, great. That's just the joy of joys, eh? Oh, look at this. We have all sorts of lovely abilities which do a lot of damage, plus your 30% of your damage. Oh, sweet. Oh, yes, joy of joys. Let's just go back. I can't be really bothered to talk about him because I've moaned about him a lot on my other videos. But let's briefly talk about Cthulhu. Oh, yes, Cthulhu. Let's just start with, this is not even close to being a Guardian. A Guardian, unlike Jormungandr, who obviously wasn't a Guardian, and they must have messed up. Same with Cabrakan, potentially, and maybe someone like Bacchus. These are Guardians who don't really need to be Guardians. They don't have abilities which help the team, unless you class a stun as helping the team. Cabrakan has a stun and Bacchus has a stun, and it's just sort of like a stop them from getting away. While Cabrakan had an aura which benefited his team, he didn't really act or play like a Guardian who was there to help. The only reason Bacchus was ever considered to be a very good role as a support was because his jump in and damage was stronger than that of most Guardians. But Cthulhu is a prime example of a god who was not thought through. Let's go over it. Somehow this big bastard has a heal-based ability. I never noticed this until one day I was playing a game of Smite, and the game ended, Cthulhu, top kills, top damage mitigated, top gold and top damage, so all that. And then you look and go, wait a minute, this guy's got 2,000 heal. You look at his build, he hasn't bought Meditation Cloak. You can look at everything about this guy, he doesn't have anything. And then it clicks and occurs to you and you go, wait a minute. Let me have a quick look at his abilities, alright? I'll have a quick look at his abilities. And let's see what we can do. And then you look at these abilities and you go, he has a passive heal. What the fuck? And then you smash your head against the keyboard and just complain. And at that time, I never considered making a video about how broken Cthulhu was. It's such a shame I didn't, because I would have raged about it for years. Cthulhu was the reason I gave up on Hi-Rez, and I cared very little about the new god system. And we'll get into all of them later, but how? We have he headbutts an enemy which causes damage and a little bit of daze, causing you to run away. He has a area of effect which is larger than any other area effect in the entire game. If it hits you once, it slows you down. If it hits you twice, it stops you in place. He has a dash which beats every fucking warrior's dash and most of the other Guardians. And then he has, I'm going to transform into Mega Squidward, where I'm even more stronger. You're trying to run away, I can throw things at you. You try and do this, I'll smash you away. Whatever dire situation I'm in, I press triangle and I'm a giant fucking monster. Unlike gods like Fafnir, who is actually one of the worst Guardians in the game for this ability, when Fafnir presses triangle, he can still get the shit beaten out of him. He can still be stunned, he can still be knocked, he can still be grabbed, he can still be everything. However, me, I'm immortal to everything and you cannot kill me. Cthulhu was just absolutely stupid. And I really hope someone got fired for it. But, don't worry, Hi-Rez gave out 5 nerfs, including you can't use relics when you're in his ult. I mean, that was a problem, a big problem, being able to use relics in his ult. Oh, I mean, that was just the biggest problem. Not the fact that he's not a fucking guardian. That wasn't a problem. No, no, no. If you're wondering why the cursing has got a lot more, because we've come to the 4 gods in the game who just, I don't know if I don't even know if Hi-Rez made them. A 4-year-old might have made them. Or a Fortnite player. I don't know. But shall we move along? So Cthulhu drops and he's absolutely stupid. They nerf him to hell and it doesn't do anything. He's still top damage, he's still top damage mitigated, and he still just doesn't make sense as a fucking guardian. Shall we move along? Okay. So, we've got Hindalia, we've got Persephone, we've got Cthulhu, we've got King Arthur, we've got Merlin, we've got pretty overpowered gods who have come out. We have Horus, Set, Yamoja who have come out, and Baba Yaga. They've all been sort of like Set and Yamoja more to the top tier, which they always are. Remember that, they're still at the top. Okay. Tsukiyumi, hey! Hey look, a Japanese god, yay, more Japanese gods, that's what we want. Oh, he's an assassin! Oh, I can't wait to never play this guy. Okay. So he has a ranged ability. He has 2 ranged abilities. He has 4 ranged abilities. He has 5 ranged abilities and a stun. And he has a laser light show. Huh. This was the one where I sort of went comedic almost. Where I sort of went, is this guy... Did Hi-Rez mess up the code on this one? I mean, making a game is very difficult, but if you messed up the code, it's an honest mistake. It's an honest mistake to say, I messed up the coding, my bad. Because this guy is a fucking hunter. When you have 5 fucking ranged abilities and 1 laser light show, and the only time you physically get close to people and hit them is when you're doing your basic attack. This guy's a hunter. This guy could solo a solo. He could take down a warrior. The only person he couldn't take down was a guardian, because he didn't really want to. Tsukiyumi came out, and the game sort of just went, oh, yeah, this is now a joke, isn't it? You're just throwing gods out there. You don't even think about what you're doing. You're just throwing anything you want at the fan. This was the god after Cthulhu. Cthulhu just hurt me. This god came out, and I went, oh, you don't care anymore. You really have no little interest. Similarly, I wasn't the only one who was slightly pissed. With Cthulhu, there were lots of YouTubers actually talking about it, and that one made me happy. At least Cthulhu, people were registering that, wait a minute, this guy's broken. There were countless YouTubers I was seeing who were talking about Hi-Rez. They were going, Hi-Rez really needs to nerf him. He's insanely strong. They, of course, Hi-Rez picked up on this small amount, and then they didn't really give a fuck. But, okay. I just want to clarify here, now and forever, I still like Smite. The game modes are fun. The items are fun. They're mixing it up. They're bringing out maps. The Conquest map's pretty fun. The god skins are always fun. I still like playing various god modes. It's just the gods I have a problem with. It's not all the gods. It's the new gods. The ones who you don't consider or think about when you release. But Tsukiyumi, we just end with that how the hell he ever made it as an assassin, I will never know. He's not stealthy, he has no buffs which help him, and he's just range, slow, stun, dead. Alright, we'll move off of that. Oh, okay. Danzibura, another Japanese god. Oh, look, he's a cute little raccoon. In his trailer, he tricked Guzenbo. We don't like him. We like Guzenbo. Okay. Danzibura. This point was when I went, okay, you don't know what you're doing. You 1000% do not know what you're doing anymore, and I have very little care. Hunter with a rocket launcher. Okay. Things on my tier list for hunters that we didn't like, or I didn't like. Hunters that could turn invisible, hunters that can heal, hunters that had companions, and hunters which were just very basic and easy to use. Okay, what does Danzebra have? He doesn't have a companion, but he is quite easy to use. But let's look at him in general. Okay, he throws his money bags at people, which if they explode give him coins. The more coins and the more wealth he's got, the better he is overall. He has a sake drink, which if he drinks it, it heals him. Okay, you've already admitted, Hi-Rez, that you have a problem with the heal system. Why do you keep giving new gods heal abilities? If you're like, okay, we got a problem with the heal system, we're going to fix it. Don't worry, guys, we know what we're doing. We're going to fix the heal system. Oh, no, we made it worse. Sorry, guys, we just don't know what we're doing anymore. However, this new god has a heal system. Never fear, it's completely fine. So you release a new god with a heal system, so he drinks his sake, throws it on the ground. No matter if you're currently using ability, no matter if you're a tank, a warrior, anyone, no matter what character you are, you're a minion, you're a companion, you will all try and drink that fucking sake. Even if you're Tier, whose passive ability is he's pretty durable to stun. What the shit? No other god in the game can almost do that. This guy is ridiculous. Why the hell do you keep giving the new gods in the game the most overpowered abilities? Such as, draws them all in and it takes so many shots to destroy the damn thing. Okay, that's just stupid as fuck. Let's move on. He has a leaf ability. Hey look, I'm one of these 6 leaves. Guess which one I am. Oh great, so you're basically another invisibility based god. Great. And the icing on the cake, hey guess what? I just got a 5 kill streak. I got a friendly predator missile. Oh yeah? No you don't. No, it's a predator missile that's on the ground and heat seeking. And best part is, if I want to, I can teleport inside the rocket miraculously, and I can fly over to you and blow you up and kill you when I get out. And even if you try and run away, I'll throw my sake bottle at you, so you can't. The problem with Danzebra was the amount of crowd control he had. Lure you in, distort you, blow you up. It was almost like Cthulhu again, but in the terms of a hunter. Now with a Cthulhu and a Danzebra, which the big things were, Cthulhu was a guardian who was supposed to have less damage. He didn't because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They honestly thought he was a warrior. But Danzebra is a ranged hunter who has as much crowd control as a fucking guardian does. Now, when you look at a guardian for crowd control, you probably, or stun based, you go Kumbragana. He yawns, it puts you to sleep. He cracks you on the head with a giant mace, it hurts you, and then he launches you up in the air. They all do various damage. But, of course, Kumbragana's not going to then beat you up badly. While Danzebra, he'll launch a rocket at you, make you try and drink his sake, and then throw money bags at you, all while he's shooting you with crits. And what we all know about Smite is the crit system isn't broken. It's not broken that you only have one piece of armor that protects you from crits. It's not broken, don't worry, we know what we're doing. However, as far as Danzebra goes, another time they bring out more nerfs and he's still broken. Their idea is not a good idea. If you're going to nerf somebody, they don't do it in small segments. You need to look at the statistics of how broken a god is, and then act accordingly. If it's somebody who has an overpowered ability, nerf that one ability. But if it's a god who can drop 21 kills in a game, the crowd control hell, nerf that. But did they nerf the crowd control? No, they bloody didn't. They didn't nerf the stun. They didn't nerf anything. They nerfed his damage. You know why he had so much damage? Because every single player was trying to drink that fucking sake, and he was just shooting them in the bloody back. Okay, we're done. We're on Season 8. Season 8 is here. My god, I have had a year. Woof. Okay. Cthulhu, I hated Smite. Tsukiyumi, I question Hi-Rez. Danzebra, Hi-Rez didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Season 8 drops. Okay, the new Conquest map was a little bit buggy, but it's a lot of fun. The starter items are actually pretty beastie. And a lot of them are very strong. 2 of them are slightly broken. I won't get into that. But it's still quite fun to play. Yay! And God nerfs, God balances, quite decent across the board. And your heal system still is not working. Easy way to fix the heal system, buff the anti-heal again. That's what we need. Sweet. Then we have Timate, or Tiamat. Tiamat. The reason I decided to make this tier list. Wrong video. The reason I decided to make this video. Where do we start with this? Absolutely ridiculous god. Aside from, in the past, Hi-Rez, do you know what you're doing? Smite, do you know what you're doing? Georgia Studios, I don't know if you make the gods, or whatever. My question, basic question. Hi-Rez Studios, Smite. Do you fucking know how to make a balanced god? Or do you know how to make a god? You went how many fucking years where it fucking worked? Why are you making gods that don't fucking make sense? Joyous of Timate, another 9 ability god, who just has so many stupid abilities where her fucking minions can kill a titan. Her minions, who she can drop on a lane, can solo a titan. This bitch who can pick up 2 buffs at the same time. The question everyone always asked, oh, can we just pick up 2 buffs? No, I can pick up 2 buffs, never fear. Yeah. The bitch who can stun, the bitch who can heal, the bitch who can fly away, the bitch who can hit you up in the air, the bitch who has minions that she can send out, she has a tornado that she can send out, she has bigger minions that can send out, all of her minions are faster than you. Her minions don't work on a time basis, meaning they're invincible and they can last forever. You actually have to physically hit them. Oh joy, she can keep sending out minions over and over again. She can change her stance, she has lots of laser light shows that she can shoot at you all at once. She can run away from combat, she has all sorts of amazing abilities. And my question to you is, you don't actually know what the fuck you're doing. And I'll be plain and simple here. And I'll say it. And I'll say it right now. This is the dumbest thing I have ever come across. The dumbest mage. And it got to the point where Noir, to me, I wanted Noir dead. Really wanted Noir dead. I hated Noir. I still hate Noir. But now I go, at least Noir's not as broken as this stupid god. The reason why I left this one on is when you have, or have just announced, we have fixed the heal system. Why, in your faintest, intelligent thought process going through your mind, why would you then release a god who has a heal system, or has a heal? If in your head we've fixed it so it's working, okay, it was a problem. Gods having a heal is a problem. It's not the heal that's the problem. It's the gods who have the heal that are the problem. Why do you introduce 2 insanely broken gods at the pretty much one after another who both have a heal? But this god is just immensely stupid. How many abilities it gets? The abilities it gets. A stun, a knock, a heal, minions, slice and dice, shoot you 50 fucking times, pick up 2 buffs. I mean, if I read through some of these bloody things, summons 4 different types of enemies, joy of joys, can jump up in the air, dodge your ability, can jump into combat, dodge your ability, is actually, hang on, here we go. Wait, is it this one? Yeah, has actually got damage mitigation. So it acts like a fucking tank. So this mage just doesn't make sense. And this is the whole reason of this video. I said to myself, all those months ago, I said it on the Danziger one, if this god comes out and is broken, I might give up on Smite. I won't give up on Smite because I still like to play it. But when you have no common sense, Merlin, a 9 ability god when he first came out, was insanely broken. So you know what? Let's do it again, but give her even more effects than Merlin has. When you release a new character in the game, they're not supposed to be the strongest out of everything. As much as I dislike Siege, Siege is another prime example. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. I used to play Rainbow Six games back on PlayStation 2 days. As much as I don't like Siege, because another game that I've been playing for 3 years. Smite and Siege were the two games I played on the PlayStation 4 when I got the PlayStation 4. And sorry, PlayStation Plus. And when I started playing them, it was a common problem of Siege was another game that went through a lot of grace and good period. But the problem I had with Siege, it wasn't the characters. It was the change to characters, the change of guns, the change of maps, the change of rules. Siege was always so many different things, but at least Siege, every season, was able to release a mediocre to average new character. And they had one ability that was different from everybody else's, but they were not broken. In the world of Siege, there were maybe 2 or 3 characters who were broken. True, Siege is a prime example of a game unlike Smite, which has hundreds of gods, compared to Siege, which probably has about 50. But every season, you'd either get 1 new one or 2 new ones, and they weren't drastically broken. If they were, within 2 weeks, they would release a patch, which actually made them a little bit more playable. Sometimes it'd completely break them, sometimes it wouldn't. But they would work round the clock to try and make overall how that one character is good. And I've actually started to pick up Siege more often, as it is a game that you know as you play it that, okay, characters, they'll always have a counter. But with Smite, they just take so long. They take so long to make these characters playable. They take so much time to bring out a patch note. They still haven't brought out a patch note for the heal system. They've released new god skins. They've released new god abilities, new nerfs. They haven't even looked at the heal system. How to fix the heal system is an easy one. Revert what you did back to what it was. But this time, completely scrap all the heal thing and just have the heal items less %. And the anti-heal go back up. Or better yet, just look at lifesteal, because lifesteal currently is the most broken thing known to man. But if you just look at these characters, and you go through your head and go, well, actually, wait, quite a few of these gods are very, very strong. Maybe they could get a little bit of nerf. But then you look, and you go ahead and go, okay, let's see here. Broken, 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 broken. Wow. A lot of broken. And in the mix of that, you have Yamoja, who is a top-tier god. Baba Yaga, who I mentioned, is not very much mentioned. Ularun, high-tier god. Set, high-tier god. Somehow bottom-tier god, don't know. Merlin, mid-tier god. King Arthur, currently top-tier god. Hera, strong god. Pele, strong, top-tier god. Samedi. Yeah, I actually don't know. I haven't seen much about Samedi in a while. But you look through these gods, and it's all the new gods. So this video has one purpose, and it's Hi-Rez Smite don't know how to make balanced gods anymore. Because it's true. You look through the last 4 gods on here, they'll all be top tier. The reason I'm not saying 5 is because Baba Yaga, but if you ignore Baba Yaga and you go Mulan, Himdalia, Yamoja, Persephone, Ularun, all of them will still be top tier. Either the top tier or the middle tier. Sorry, like the tier below it. Now, of course, that is one of my other grievances on Smite tier lists. How I question, as I said already in the video, that you have a conquest tier list, which is usually for ranked conquest, where a YouTuber would say a god like, I don't know, let's go for probably one of my favourites. We'll go, oops, that's not the C. Where's C? There's C. Where is he? Oh, there. We'll go Chuck is probably one of the worst gods in the game. Okay. No, he's not. He's probably one of the strongest warriors in the game. My opinion. And the opinion of people who I meet. Where you go, okay, in Conquest, maybe he's not a great solo, but if you got Chuck in a game of Assault, you decimate an entire lobby. You play Arena, you decimate. You play Joust, you still would decimate. I'm trying to think of a game type where probably Siege wouldn't particularly work, but in a small, tight game, Clash, Arena, Assault, Joust, Chuck will decimate. He'll decimate, and it might be different on PC, where on PC he's actually useless. But in my experience, Chuck is one of the strongest warriors in the game. PlayStation 4. I'm not counting Conquest, but when you have your own tier list for everything and he's down the bottom, I think you don't know what you're talking about. And I can back that up with I'm not being aggressive to anyone else. I can back that up. When you have like a god like Jormungandr down the bottom saying he's terrible, and then Hi-Rez are saying we have to nerf him because he's too strong, you kind of go, wait, the game company who made the game are saying that he's strong, but you're saying he's crap. Who's wrong? Do you know the game that you're playing because you've played it for years, or do they know because they are playing it? Oh, sorry, they made it. And I'm kind of stuck in the middle where I go, okay, Hi-Rez must know the best because they're the game creators, but the YouTube community, they also must know. However, I'm stuck in the middle where I go, okay, these gods aren't broken, yet these gods... for me, I disagree in the tier list system. I disagree that the gods down the bottom are broken, are the worst. I still think a lot of the gods down the bottom are very strong. But in Hi-Rez's point of view, the new gods who come out, it's just, yeah, you're nerfing and buffing the wrong gods. It's like Fafnir needs a massive buff. In more ways than one. Watch my Guardian video if you want to know why. I think Fafnir needs a massive buff now after the heal effect, as he's now probably got weaker because of it. And then massive nerfs. Kali in my Assassins video, Cthulhu in my Guardian video, and Alquan. Alquan doesn't need a massive buff, so to speak, but maybe making him assassin might help him. Right. I can't even look at it. It's just horrible. This video was just made for the purposes of explaining my current time of playing Smite. The gods who have come out. Not going to talk about the game modes. I'm not going to cover any of those. I do have grievances about them, but the new Conquest map is fine, and I like it. Except from the Scorpions. It's just... after playing it for free, there have been YouTubers who have been playing it a lot longer than me. I respect that. Smite might have been terrible all those years ago. I was watching it, I just wasn't playing it. Big difference between watching and playing something. But this is just quite a sad moment for me, where I sit there and go, how many new gods are they going to release who are just broken? And they show so little care into fixing them. I mean, for me, the absolute kryptonite, for me, I have to say, still Cthulhu. How he was ever considered to be a god, I will never know. And that's a Guardian perspective. I hate to see who the next Guardian they release is. It's got to the point now where I'm just really struggling to find. But thankfully, the Smite community is nice and salty. That's how I like to say it. If you do bad, they complain at you, but if in other lobbies, if you do bad, they just say have fun. That's really what it is. Which is why I don't play ranked. I play Smite to have fun. I don't play Smite to go into a hot lobby full 100% sweat. The only day I do is when I decide to record, and it's military tactics in a game of Conquest, which you can play at level 1. Which is fun. But this video was more of my... it was just a progression of me seeing gods go through. And as far as what I will say from these gods... oops, wrong one, sorry. These gods here. Out of those, who I would say is the absolute hands down most broken. I am ignoring the first Tiamat. I am ignoring her just because she's new. Now what I mean by that is Danzebra I despised. But I never made a video about how broken he was. Just because he wasn't like a top tier hunter. As in the respects of, in a 1v1 situation, Danzebra still might not win. but in a Tiamat in a 1v1 situation will still win. And it's see, that's the only other thing I will mention quickly here. Cthulhu in a 1v1 situation with a Guardian would win. Tsukiyumi and Danzabra, if they both took on the strongest version of the Hunter and the Assassin, they both actually wouldn't win. I've done frequent testing, and it's just a shame that Tiamat can actually beat most of the top tier mages. And it's scary to see a Tiamat can actually beat a Hera and a Chang both at the same time, after a couple of tests we ran. But aside from that, this has been Mr. Limes, or Limes, PlayStation user, or Funny Fruits, as this will probably be on YouTube, Mr. Stupid, as I may have just remembered that now. This is going to be on YouTube. Well, thank you for listening. The next video I will be releasing will be hopefully some patch notes that might come out, and I will need to go back and reinvent my Guardian tier list, as I am taking out the reworked category. Oh, sorry, re-roll, which was gods who I would like to see in different roles. I'm going to take that one out, and I'm just going to bring back in. I'm going to put them all into the table, because I had 5 gods being in the wrong role for Guardians. I know it's not unlikely to happen, but we'll give it a go. Well, thank you for listening. Please like or dislike, but the best thing you can do is comment. If you want to subscribe, that's fine. I don't really mind. This is just to talk about things. Like or dislike, completely up to you, but just comment. I'd like to hear someone's opinion on this matter. But no, thank you for listening, and GG. Enjoy the rest of your day. Where's the stop button? Goodbye.